Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
I'm just looking to see who all we've got on. I'm Laura Haining, and with this, I'm the planning director for the city of Boerne, and I have Sarah Seha Bennett joining me as well. She's one of the planners here for the city. She's been working with very closely with Delaney Honecker, and hopefully I'm saying that right, Delaney, who is with, sorry, I should know this by heart. Killen, Griffin, and Fairmond. And Delaney, I don't know if you've got anybody with you tonight, but I'll let you introduce yourself in just a second. I kind of want to explain the rules to everybody. We've got two items that are being considered this evening. The first one is a Honda dealership over there by Regent Park off of I-10. And the second one is, I guess we call them horizontal apartments. They're actually, they look like townhomes, but we call them multifamily because they're all on one lot. That'll be the second item we'll speak to tonight. Let me start off with a little bit of explanation as to what we're talking about tonight. Let me make sure my screen is shareable. Sarah, can you see that, or do I need to be clicking on something? Oops.
I think I'll have.
Hold on, folks. Technology.
I think I have to transfer to you. Just a second.
Okay. That's right. My view is messed up. Thank you very much.
Okay, you can try now.
Great, thanks. All right, give me a second. Sorry, people. I lost my file. There we go. Okay. Can anybody see my screen?
Nope.
Okay, let me try again. Now can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Let me just try clicking on this and see if that works. There we go. Now can you see my screen?
Now it is, yes.
Okay, good. So this property is, those of you that live up close to it, what we'll do is we'll introduce the project, let Delaney and whoever she has with her tonight to kind of explain the project in general and what they're thinking. And then we'll ask each of you, we'll give everybody a chance that wants to speak, to make some comments, ask questions. This is supposed to be somewhat a relaxed environment, so you can feel free to ask questions of the proposed developer, in this case, their representative. So if you'll just be patient with us, we'll get to everybody tonight. If you don't mind sharing your name, you don't have to, but it helps us kind of figure out who's responding and who's concerned about what. So we'd appreciate it if we could. This property is proposed for a Honda dealership. It's 7.5 acres right there on the corner of Regent Drive and I-10. I'm not sure who all was here back in 2017, but this site was approved back then for an Echo Park dealership. So council has already seen a proposed car dealership at this site, and they looked at screening and how it's going to be buffered from the neighbors and so forth. That was approved. This site is very similar to that, what Echo Park got approved for. However, Echo Park's what we call special use permit now what has expired. So they have to go through the gun dealership, or the Honda dealership has to go through the process again of getting a special use permit for the zoning that they're in. So just so everybody understands, all car dealerships, regardless of the zoning, even if it were a C4, which is the most or the least restrictive zoning, that would require an SUP2. And what some of the things we look at is how they're going to screen, you know, how they're going to handle their lighting, what's the noise going to be like, all the things I'm sure that y'all are thinking about. So I've got the location up here, and again, the location on the aerial, you can see now this is all commercial along here, but there are some residences that back up to it. And then you've got the nursery across the street. And again, this is the site with topography. And then they gave us some proposed elevations. Again, these are kind of standard, and I'll let Delaney speak to that, what it's ultimately going to look like. But this is kind of what they've provided now, just to give us some talking points to speak from. And what they're proposing, from what I understand, is this will be the overall layout. The actual dealership is further away from any residential. They'll have parking here, some around and in back. And they're going to provide, we still have to look at detention specifically, but just know that it is a requirement that it is dealt with when they're platting the property. So whether it's at this location or another corner somewhere, that they still have to deal with it on the site. But they have offered that some screening and some buffering, and I'll let them talk in detail, a little bit better detail about that. So Delaney, do you have anybody with you tonight that you want to speak?
Yeah, so actually, first of all, thank you for the introduction and for the great overview of the project. I actually have Ashley Fairmont, which is one of the partners at our firm, here to present the property. And I'm just going to be here in the background to answer any questions and everything. But I'll let Ashley take it over from here.
Great. Ashley, did you have pictures you want to share?
I do. I have a brief presentation.
Okay.
If I can share my screen.
I'll have to have, I think Sarah has to do that. Yes, Sarah?
Yes, let me do it just a sec.
Thank you. Just wait for 1 second. Well, Ashley's.
Well, you go ahead and get
Actually,
started.
You have, Laura, so you are right now are the host, so you have to transfer the meeting to her on the 3 dots on the top.
Oh, now we're in trouble. Okay.
Okay. Well, I can go ahead and get started.
Oh, no, hold on. Just give me 2.
Okay.
I'm sharing my screen. And. Here. Boom. Okay, Ashley, I think it's all you now.
Great. I can see it. Yes, it is.
Okay.
So good evening, everyone. As Delaney mentioned, my name is Ashley Fairmont. I work with a local law firm, Killing Griffin and Fairmont, and we are here representing B.O.N Automotive. So B.O.N, as many of you know, is a local car dealership or car automotive group. They essentially have several different dealerships, but this one we're looking at today is a Honda dealership, as Laura mentioned. Let me find my presentation real quick.
Recording in progress.
Great. So there we go. So I'm going to give an overview of any questions, and if not, we can answer questions afterwards. And then I'll also give everybody me and Delaney's contact information so you can call or email us with any follow-up questions after the meeting as well.
So Ashley, there's a whole lot of feedback. I don't know if you have, did you call in as well?
No, I don't know if that's coming from me.
I'm
gonna try
looking,
to- I'm gonna
I see a
mute
lot of
you.
individuals are not muted, and usually the feedback comes when people aren't muted. So if everyone will just like mute, then that might limit it.
That'll include me. I think it looks like everybody else is, so let me mute. That helps.
Any better?
So you left it there, so you can't see it?
I think so.
Great.
Here
Thank you all. Thanks for your patience while we figure out the technical aspect. So as Laura mentioned, the property is 7.5 acres at Regent Boulevard and I-10 frontage. Zoom in a little bit. Yeah, even on this Google map here, it shows it as Echo Park Automotive, but that was obviously never constructed. So now B.O.N has the property under contract to purchase to develop the Honda dealership. Here's just the current zoning map. It is C3, so we're asking for that special use permit to allow for the auto sales. And then this is a site plan. I'm going to pull up actually a better version of that, really, because I think that's probably what everybody wants to take a look at. So here we go. So the site will include like a typical car dealership. You'll have the sales and showroom in the front, and then service, and then office and service in the back. The idea is there's only one access point, and that's on I-10 frontage. There'll be no access on Regent. I apologize, this may be a little confusing because the bottom portion of the screen is I-10. And then this here, if you can see my mouse, this is Regent over here. So one difference, Laura, than the site plan that you showed is the engineer has updated where the detention pond will be located. So this project will be required to detain on site, meaning any stormwater runoff will have to be handled on the property. And so that will happen here at this detention pond in the corner. There's also a large drainage easement that runs through the middle of the property as well. And that will not be built on top of and will be maintained as is. So in addition to access, also, I know there were questions about landscaping. So everything green here will be landscaped areas. I don't have a specific plan. We're working on that in terms of trees, shrubs, all of the above, flowers, everything you can imagine. Landscaping is a priority for them. So we're working on a plan, and we'll get that over to the city as well. And happy to talk with anybody further about that. Additionally, I know there are probably questions about lighting. All lighting will be downward facing and shielded so that it doesn't spill over. So we'll also happy to work on the lighting plan so that everybody can see that. Obviously, it's important that this dealership not impact any residents to the rear. So the lighting is a priority for Gun as well. We also will have fencing, particularly next to the residential, which is on this back portion of the site. So that right now is proposed to be an 8-foot fencecrete wall. So that's the concrete that looks like stone. So that will help prevent any spillover of the lighting as well as the noise. I think those are kind of really the highlights of the site plan. Happy to come back to that if anybody has questions. Really quick, I wanted to go to those elevations that Laura shared. So here's, as Laura mentioned, these are the very basic kind of typical Honda dealership and what they look like. Gun is in the process right now of working with our architect on updating this. I know that we are aware that Bernie has the corridor overlay. So this is being updated to have more of that hill country feel, to be in compliance with that overlay and those requirements. So next round of these elevations, you're going to see, more stone, kind of a different look. So that's something that we're working on as well. There's a second one. And then here is my email. Here's Delaney's email. And then also you can reach us both at the same number. So happy to answer any questions today, but if there's any follow-ups, feel free to email or call us. And if you think of anything and don't write down our contact information, Laura and her team have it as well. So.
I keep picking up, thank you very much, Ashley. I keep picking up somebody talking in the background. So if you're not muted, if you just be careful to mute yourself, because I keep hearing comments from folks. Thank you. I think
Ashley, do you want to transfer if you transfer the host for me, and I think I can solve that.
Sure.
Yeah, I was trying to look through if I can mute them, I would have, but I couldn't. So I do want to explain a couple of other things about a special use permit. So it's a C3 zoning, which is commercial zoning. That already applies on this piece of property. The special use permit does allow the Planning and Zoning Commission and Council to place limitations on the development that occurs there. When Echo Park came in years ago, they talked about screening and fencing and landscaping, preservation of trees, lighting, all of those things, which I think are probably the most important aspects when you've got a car dealership next door. The council just approved a resolution of support for dark skies, just so everybody knows, at our last council meeting. I think that's important to recognize, whereas the state has limited our ability to enforce lighting regulations, but the dark skies certification, which we're moving towards, and this resolution of support was important, is another step in that direction. And B.O.N.D has committed to providing dark sky lighting on this site. So that means lower light poles when it gets closer to residential, lower lumens, so it's not as bright. And I know that's one of the things that they've committed to, and council can enforce with a special use permit. If today, so everybody understands, if another use under a C3, and probably most of you have seen that list of C3s, everybody within 200 feet should have been notified already, Sarah, or not?
So the notification went out Friday, and it's kind
Okay.
of difficult to come to at the post office.
So you should be getting a notification soon, if you have not already, that shows all the uses in a C3. So anything that has a P is an allowed use. Anything that has an S, like this automobile sales, has to go through a special use permit. So this bond meeting is just a conversation between the developer. The city is here just to kind of help the process along. And we want to hear from the neighbors or anybody that has concerns specific to this item now up front, before they go to the Planning and Zoning Commission and before they go to council. So that's what tonight's meeting is about. This is not a formal meeting. It's really just to kind of hear your comments and see if there's anything that y'all have come up with or you think about that you think maybe needs to be incorporated into the site, and how you feel about it in general. So I'll open it up to any comments that somebody has. If you'll unmute yourself. And
So I don't know if there's some comments on the chat. So I
okay,
don't know if it's because they don't have a microphone. If they want to speak up right now, they can unmute themselves, or I can read the comments.
I do. If you want to start out by reading the comments, Sarah, and then anybody that wasn't covered, and then we can let Ashley and Delaney answer the questions as we go through them. And then anybody that their comment wasn't given and you can speak, then we'll get to that. We'll get to y'all. So what are the comments?
So Ashley and Elaine, Michelle is asking if the property is already under contract.
Yes, it's under contract.
Okay, so this is Michelle and I'm following up. If it's already under contract, what opportunity do the residents have here other than voicing questions, concerns about how the property will be built? Do we have to voice any questions or objections or anything like that about the fact that some of us may not want the dealership there to begin with? So if it's already under contract, do we have the opportunity to stop the contract?
Well, so whether or not they're under contract is honestly none of our business. What our role here is exactly what you said, is if you have specific concerns that they can address, now's the time to say it. And you can speak at Planning and Zoning Commission and Council. So they need the special use permit in order to build the dealership. So whether it's under contract, if they bought it already, really doesn't matter, because this is the city's opportunity now to try to address any concerns you might have. So do you want to, Michelle, since we kind of started with you, do you want to talk about what your specific concerns are and see if they've got answers?
Sure, and I might have more comments as people,
Sure.
speak, but I am one of the ones that will be directly facing the dealership with my property, my backyard facing towards it. So I'm directly affected by this building, this proposal.
Right.
First, let me say that the reason we came to Bernie to begin with is because of all of the things that Bernie stood for the rural, township and Main Street and all of that. And what's happening on the I-10 corridor is completely opposite that. We could have stayed in San Antonio and gotten quieter use out of our property than we do now. I'm also very concerned how having yet another dealership, this will be the fourth one in the immediate area, will directly affect property values. We've got the luxury and the blessing of having our home values escalate, increase in equity over time here. We've got the homes that are directly affected here in this particular development are $500,000 plus homes. And we do not necessarily need to have a maintenance bay view in our backyard affecting what we can and cannot do with resale values, never mind quiet use and enjoyment and so forth. I think I also heard about possible fencing for, to try and address security. Well, that's only on one side on, I think it's Kentwell Circle on the back end of the property. There is nothing that I've heard so far to have any fencing or real meaningful security that would be along Regent Park. We're not a gated community, but so far we've been able to shield, ourselves enough from I-10 and so forth. But now you've got a dealership with all of the traffic and all of the different types of activity that it draws coming directly into the development, if you will, the beginning of the development. And so, we have dogs. They sometimes go out late at night. I go out there 1, 2 o'clock in the morning if need be. I don't want to be out there with, possible folks in and around a development that has a dealership. We've had, even just now, we've got the builders having folks steal lumber and so forth, which is really unfortunate. But that's happening on the house next door to us just had vandalism happen the other day. Never mind what might or might not happen with supplies that are delivered to a dealership. You've got maintenance and those kinds of parts and everything there. You've got the noise from loudspeakers and so forth that, you hear the ding, 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 so customer service, that kind of thing. I don't need that in my backyard. The quiet use and enjoyment is extremely impacted by having a car dealership inside the development area. And I think, the folks that will be here have prepared, statements and so forth, but you've got increase in the traffic, the test drives, the loudspeakers, the maintenance bays, the lights. We already have the lights that come in from the city to light Regent Boulevard, and those things affect, right into our homes as it is. You add to that the lights of a dealership that are trying to protect their property too, so that's understandable, but that will definitely, it's not a question of having blackout curtains there. And I don't envision having, my home at that value to have to be impacted that greatly. So it's extremely disturbing. So I'll leave it to other folks to voice their opinions. And it's got nothing to do with the dealership rent gun or, what have you. It's just that there are way too many in this area. And I think that the city would be better served with other types of revenue to be generated from a mixed use, such as, businesses that would cater to the residential community that is bringing lots of taxable revenue to the city because we're moving here and buying these higher priced homes.
Great, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. do you ladies want to address any of her concerns?
Yeah, we can, and then, you know, I'm taking notes so we can, you know, also look at everything again after this meeting, and Laura, we can work with you on how to get that information back to everybody. I think one of the benefits, I understand the concerns with, you know, what's going to happen here and how does that impact your home. And I think one of the good things about the SUP and the special use is that we can put limitations on a lot of the things that you're concerned about, whether that be loudspeakers or noise or lighting, or, you know, where is the fencing going? Where is the landscaping going? It provides a little bit more control over the C3, which is there now, in that we can set some of these things into the zoning ordinance, and then Laura and her team can enforce it. You know, so it's a little different. So, you know, we're willing to look at the fencing to provide some additional protections along Regent Park, and then, you know, what can we do in terms of the landscaping, and then I'm sure we can limit loudspeakers and those sorts of things, and also talk about. I don't have a specific answer today, but we can also look at, you know, how do we prevent people from the dealership driving into your residential area. So those are all concerns that I hear and I've written down, and thank you, Michelle, for all of that. And we'll look at everything and provide, you know, an updated site plan and updated comments. So.
Okay. Sarah, do you want to go on to the next comment? And then we'll work from there.
Yes, so I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but Berkeley has a comment saying, are they kidding you about the amount of landscaping around the perimeter? It's all parking lot. And if you want to talk about that, please unmute yourself. And I just want to answer one comment from Brad. Yes, I don't think he said that the notification hasn't arrived, and I am sorry. I hope they do, and you're going to find the same information as I sent you via email. The same to everybody. I'm sorry. The post office sometimes takes a little bit longer.
We can only do what we can do, but the meeting, the planning and zoning, this is going to be on the next P&Z meeting, correct? Assuming they choose to stay on.
Yes, at this point, the item is in the agenda for the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting,
which is November 1st at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. So, and anybody, it doesn't matter if you get the notification or not, you're welcome to attend and voice your opinion there as well. I do know that when we're talking specifically about landscaping, and I'm sure Ashley can answer this, but we don't have a landscaping plan yet. That is one of the things that they'll need to have for the planning and zoning meeting. If we need to, of course, the meeting's on the 1st. We could, I don't know that we have time to schedule another outreach meeting. So the next opportunity then to see the details would be at the P&Z meeting. Those are also recorded. The problem is you won't be able to call in, and you won't be able to zoom in and make comments during the meeting. You'll have to attend the meeting for that. But all of y'all are welcome. Also, those of you that do get the notifications, they're within 200 feet. There's an attachment there that you can provide your comments, and either you can, typically you mail them back in, but if you want to be certain that we get them, you can either email them or just drop them by the office, and we'll make sure that the P&Z sees all the comments and questions. So we don't have the landscaping plan yet, but we'll be looking for that detail. They're aware of it. We've talked about tree preservation on the site. There's some pretty good trees up front that will, you know, we have requirements for preservation of trees, especially in the front along I-10, where there's a screening area and pretty heavy duty landscaping that are requirements. Even if they didn't have the SUP, those would still be requirements.
Laura, this is Brad Wells.
Yes, Brad.
Can I ask a few questions and maybe give a few comments? I don't know if you remember, we've worked together quite a bit on several projects here in Boerne on the opposite side of this. So
right.
Obviously pro-development, but I'm also impacted as a citizen here in Boerne. Specifically, my property backs up directly on to this property at 102 Kingston Court.
Mhm.
And I know that the city cares greatly, both P&Z as well as council and you, in terms of preservation of trees, landscaping, mitigation. I'm actually surprised to see the plan that was put forward tonight, based upon all the other experiences here in Boerne, that doesn't seem to be any mitigation. And I know it's early on, but any mitigation for impervious cover. It's pretty much just a big parking lot, which you would expect of a car dealership. But there is no mitigation of trees. I've actually walked that lot and looked at all the different markings, and even the ones that are right on the property line are marked to be removed. And so I think that the developer really needs to take a hard look at preservation, not only at the I-10 front, but along the walkway that runs along Regent Park. That's an 8-foot walkway that's used by pedestrians and neighbors. All those trees are planning to come out, along the one, including the ones that are right behind my home and the adjacent homes. That removal of those trees will allow for the illumination to move onto our property. And so including the non-pervious cover, the lack of landscape plan and tree preservation, the lights, which are still to be determined. I think I counted 60 on the proposed plans that were submitted earlier. This plan is different. The detention pond has been moved up to the front, which actually puts more parking lots back onto our properties at the back of Regent Park, which makes, I think, the view corridor much more negative to our effect. I know the UDC itself, and I was part of helping, provide comments on that, provides for C3, and the intent of the SUP is to make sure that any mitigation to accept an SUP provides no greater harm than what a C3 would normally require, or at least that's a consideration that should be looked at. And so my request would be to look at mitigation around if this is going to move forward for both P&Z and City Council, to take a hard look at the requirements under section 4C3.A all the way through F. Because what I think you're hearing, as other residents say, both in the comments and Michelle's comments earlier, is there is a perceived impairment to property value for those that are directly adjacent to this. And there is a negative effect in terms of the enjoyment and use of their property as proposed. And so I think things such as screening, solid fencing, those kind of activities, islands in terms of landscape tree preservation would help go a long way. And I did not see any of that in their plan tonight. And so based on what I'm seeing here, I'm asking my fellow neighbors, including myself, to say no to this project without further mitigation or consideration. And we'll be asking the City Council, since we have 20% of the adjacent property, to request a 3/4 vote for approval of this if it goes forward.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Why don't we move through the other comments? Because I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot of the same, but I want to make sure that we get everybody's comments. Sarah, do you want to read? I see Natalie saying thank you, Brad. So Sarah, do you want to go through them real quick?
So yes, so Ted is asking if there's any limitations on the amount of oils and chemicals stored on site. I'm going to read a few, and then if you guys address, because it's quite a bit. Andrea has, as a resident of Regent Park, I do not want a car dealership in front of the neighborhood. There are already so many dealerships around us. Our neighborhood is often used for test drives. This will increase congestion on the already overloaded access roads. And then Wells I have a few comments.
Brad just made those.
Exactly. Yeah. Anthony Termini. Yes. Do you want to
speak? Remarks I'd like to make.
Oh, is it Anthony?
It's Anthony Termini.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So I live in Regent Park, and I'm opposed to the city granting Honda Boerne a special use permit. Before the city considers it, I'd like the applicant to address these concerns. I'm curious about what environmental impact surveys have been conducted. A dealership will necessarily have underground tanks to hold gasoline to fuel cars. Their service bays will collect engine oil. Cleaning oil from those bays will likely require toxic solvents. How will that be disposed of? Cars that get sold are typically washed before they leave the lot. That will likely create runoff. Will that water contain oil, gasoline, and other contaminants that could leach into our groundwater? How has the applicant addressed these issues? Has an additional environmental impact survey been conducted to determine what species of native wildlife will be displaced? Deer, fox, armadillos, porcupines, frogs, lizards, salamanders, and a host of other native species occupy that location currently. So our woods are filled with lots of critters. Hoot owls live there. Other species that will be negatively impacted by this project live there. The Highway 87 Main Street Bridge demolition was postponed because of migratory birds. These aren't migratory animals. They're native to that area. So I don't think it's unreasonable for the applicant to definitively ascertain that this project isn't going to create a similar ecological situation. Now, my neighbors have addressed some of these other things, like test drives. They will clog the frontage road leading to the entrance of our community. They will create abnormal traffic flows into our neighborhoods. Has the applicant conducted an environmental impact survey to address how this could potentially put our children who play in these streets, these quiet streets, at risk? I don't want Regent Park turned into a test track. It's my opinion that replacing that tree-lined entrance with an automobile dealership is also bad business. The property is better suited to shops and restaurants that the locals, that we who live here, will patronize, and which could attract visitors to town. Placing this dealership at our front door will create an unpleasant look and an unwelcoming feel. It could discourage people from moving here. I believe it could have a severely negative impact on the property value of literally every home in this community. Personally, we moved here for the small town feel and serenity of Texas Hill Country. And we would not have purchased this home if there was an auto dealership right at the front entrance. It will destroy the ambiance we sought when we bought into Regent Park, and I'm really opposed to the city granting the applicant a special use permit.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. Sarah, who else was on the comment?
So there is Kathleen Avance, and she's saying that as a resident of Regent Park, I do not want one next to our homes. It will disrupt our quality of life. CHASB is asking about mitigation for light pollution. And as Laura stated in the beginning, the city has some lighting regulation, dark sky regulation that they will have to comply, and they agreed into complying with those as well. They are aware that there's no uplighting, there's restrictions until what time and how much light they can be putting out. So that is already part of city regulation. Andrea Patel she's saying that many of us work from home now, and the noise from the dealership during the day will be extremely disruptive for meetings. Natalie Green, this is really very little retail. There is really very little retail mixed space on that entire stretch of I-10. Does the city of Boerne want the I-10 stretch of Boerne to be known as all car dealership? Ted agreed with Michelle. There's a lot of people saying that Michelle did a very good job. Good, Michelle.
If, Sarah, if Brad and Anthony and Michelle have kind of captured the comments in general, I think we're fine not rehashing them again. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'm just reading through it.
Oh, no, we're still gonna let people speak. I just didn't know if we needed to read through all the comments if they're.
Yeah, no, a lot of them are they're basically saying the same thing.
I did see one comment about where the access into the facility would be, and that would be off of the frontage I-10 road, and none of the access would be off of Regent Drive.
We did, Delaney, we ran it past the fire guys. They probably will require an emergency access along Regent Park, but it would only be for fire trucks. In other words, you can't have 18 wheelers in there or anything else. It's just, so just, you know, if everything gets approved and you move forward and people see an entrance going in there, just know that it would only be for fire trucks. So let's open it up to those. I know that Ram, that's what it says on the screen, wanted to speak specifically, and then just if one at a time, y'all will, once he or she is done, then the next person can speak up. Just state your name and let's hear what you got to say. Ram, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Michael. I'm a resident there in Regent Park. Just want to give my comments. So like, paint a picture, right? Imagine this. Imagine someone's test driving a Civic Type R from the dealership, right? I know we're saying, you know, there's no access directly in there, but I mean, that's the next available. It's a couple feet away. You know what I mean? I don't want to get hung up on this test drive thing, but to paint a picture, imagine, oh, you know, let's see what this car can do. You know, and there's your kid riding a bike. Is that what you want? Is that what your idea of living in this area is for the city of Boerne to be able to do that and allow that to happen in your neighborhood where your children are supposed to feel safe? So, I mean, kind of moving on, you know, child safety, things like that. The amount of light pollution, the amount of noise pollution, the air pollution that this can contribute to the residents of Regent Park, those are all contributing factors to not having your child grow up to be the best they can be. You know what I mean? Light pollution, maybe it can disrupt their sleep. They don't grow as big, you know, behavioral issues, things like that. Those are the things that I don't want in my neighborhood. And kind of moving on to my second point, we have a amazing, huge walkway going front to back, where, I mean, I guess along the main stretch, right? And, you know, we have connecting sidewalks that go along, I guess, the main road area. Don't we want that to be more equitable for the community? Doesn't the city of Boerne want that to be equitable and have some use? Where are we going to walk? You know what I mean? Let's go for a walk, you know? We're going to walk, oh, we'll walk to the car dealership. No, there could be, you know, like others said, mixed retail use, things like that. So those are kind of my concerns, is that, to sum it up, it's not equitable for us as residents. I'm not just talking about property values, right? We can go on all day about property values, but the equity and enjoyment that this would provide us is it's close to none. And I'd rather have something that is more beneficial to the residents than this.
Great. Thank you
That's
so
all.
much, Michael. I appreciate it. Is there anybody else that would like to speak up? Just unmute yourself and state your name.
Can you hear me?
I can. Katie, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
my name is Katie, and I've been in this neighborhood about 3 years now, and the reason why we moved into this location is because of the environment. The beautiful trees out here and just the overall neighborhood itself feels safe to me. I am a walker and I enjoy walking down this main corridor like he was talking about. I enjoy the sunrises and the sunsets, and I enjoy all the beautiful animals that I get to see. The thing is that my house faces I-10, but behind my house, I have this nursery that has all these beautiful trees. And as I look to the left, I see all those beautiful trees that probably will eventually be torn down to put in this parking lot or this car dealership, which this is not the reason I moved here, to sit here and sit in my backyard and enjoy a parking lot. That's not what I want. Again, the light that it's going to bring in because of all those, whatever lights they're going to use to light up that parking spaces out there. It's not something that I want shining into my backyard and to my house and to my kitchen, because I can see all that from the back of my house. I enjoy sitting there. I enjoy watching the deer, all the beautiful animals and birds and stuff, and the tranquility out there. That's the reason why I moved here. Again, I probably would not have moved out here had there been a car dealership there already. That's not what I was looking for. This is what I'm looking for, what we currently have. And this is what I hope will continue. Why take away the beauty that's there already? Leave it alone, let it grow, let us all enjoy it.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. Is there anybody else who would like to make any comments on this item? We still have one more item to discuss. Ashley or Delaney, did y'all want to make some final comments before we move on to our next subject?
Yeah, sure. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's been very helpful for us to hear all of the comments, concerns, questions. We'll go back and assess. And Laura, I don't know if there's a good way to communicate with everyone, or if that's something you can do.
I think what we could do, Ashley, because it's pretty short timing before the P&Z meeting, we can reach out to the HOA, which I'm assuming that's probably where a lot of folks have heard. If they haven't gotten their letters yet, they heard about it from the HOA. And we have signage out there. So what we can do is send information if y'all want to provide us some information.
Sorry, another option would be if the residents wants, if they don't mind putting their email there, or they can email it to us, just saying who they are and what
my
they're
email
interested
down,
in.
and then people can just email me, and then I can relay it to Ashley, just so it's like one email that everyone can just email to. Maybe that's a little bit easier.
Use yours, Delaney.
Yeah, I can just send it in the chat real quick.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, if you want to do that, then everybody will have it. And if anybody on the call wants to reach out to the city, you can ask for Sarah's probably the best contact. I'm a little harder to get a hold of here, but Sarah's been working very closely with them, so she can share emails, she can share comments, she can send pictures with updates, and again, we can send it to the HOA, and they can pass it around as well. So that's what it's about. It's to hear everybody's comments, let them hear it, and see if they, the best that they can address it. I know that they're interested in doing that. They've been good to work with thus far, and it's just the beginning of the process. So hearing from y'all is very important right now at the beginning of this process. So I appreciate everybody getting on.
Yeah, Laura, thank you for organizing, and again, thank you everyone for being here. We'll look at all of the comments. I've written everything down, and then we'll also, Laura, look again at timing, and we can get back with everybody on that.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
just let me know.
Laura,
Yes, ma'am.
One thing for you to consider as you move forward in terms of contacting or working through the HOA. I think it's a good point to bring up, that our HOA is still not represented by, has any representation by any of the homeowners
Gotcha.
on there. It was purposely, I guess, designed that way until the majority of the neighborhood was built out. So we here have only learned about it because of the postings or so forth that has been going on. And I would also urge, don't put things on next door. The majority of our residents communicate through the Facebook app through Regent Park, if not, through community activities and so forth here. But the HOA is not representative of the community, nor does it have any residents.
I understand. I wasn't even thinking about that. Typically, that's typically how we would communicate. So Facebook app is probably the best.
We have a Facebook app, yes, ma'am, that you can post to rather than Regent Park. And several of the folks, because we have, both the younger families, but we also have, older residents as well that aren't necessarily as active online as otherwise would, but they would equally have the same concerns or voice their opinions. So there has to be several modes of communication.
Okay. We will do our best to get information out. I mean, this is actually a really good turnout. So if it was the signage that y'all saw, I'm glad it's working. Heather, my assistant, was just telling me that she didn't have a contact for the HOA. So I'm wrong. I'm wrong in even making the comment, and I apologize. So we'll see what we can do as far as Facebook and posting information on Facebook. I know that we can do it. I don't know that we can target just Regent Park, but I'll check with communications and see if we can. If some of you would like to send emails, I'll try to. Michelle, specifically you, I'm getting a thumbs up for something. Michelle, specifically, if you can send Sarah or I your information, and then we'll try to kind of coordinate something that we, and Brad, I've got your contact information. I'll talk to y'all about how best to coordinate with the neighborhood.
Happy to do what I can.
Great, thank you so much.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm joining late, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to just ask, what is the email address? I will share that the Facebook page was mentioned, but it's just been the residents of Regent Park sharing information that we found from the city page. And so we could get with the administrators and add somebody from the city of Boerne if things could be communicated that way, if y'all can't add us. And then additionally, what is the email that we need to address?
Sarah, would you give them your email, please?
You can send, I'll put it on the chat and you guys can have it there. I'll put a few and you can send to all of us.
And of course, Ashley and Delaney actually has, well, both of them actually have provided their emails as well. So if you want to talk to them directly, you certainly can. But I'd like to get overall information. Hi.
Hey, Laura, this is Jen MacArthur. I just want to let you know that in the chat, I put Emma Vidal's contact information. That's our HOA contact and her phone number. So you have somebody to reach out to.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But again, Emma gives us some information, but the representation or the voices that you are soliciting the opinions from are not representative of the HOA. So please keep that in mind.
And this is why, so when I talked to Brad, I'm sorry, Laura, when I talked to Brad earlier this week and he saw the sign and he called and I sent him some information and I told him that the HOA wouldn't be enough to do the neighborhood notification and it wouldn't count as the neighbors responding. So we needed each one of you to reply to our questions and that would be counted towards the neighborhood information and not just the HOA reply.
Yeah, and that's what's happening right now. Unfortunately, we don't have a full list of all the email addresses of the residents.
Right.
And Facebook and social media is what we've been using so far. Where there's some plans to get the communication out. HOA has not responded to our to my request, at least submitted on Monday for some sort of response or community outreach.
Okay,
Correct. And I
Well-
also reached out to Emma requesting a list of emails and contacts so we
Right.
could canvass the neighborhood to be able to reach out. And she likewise has not responded back to me either.
well, just know this, that between those of you that are speaking right now, we'll get some, we'll make sure that the information is communicated. Our communications director will help us to do the outreach. So don't worry about it. We'll get it to you. Even if I have to pick one of y'all to share it on Facebook for us, we will find a way to get you updated information. And I know Delaney and Ashley want to get that to you so that y'all can be a little more comfortable and express whatever concerns you have. So that's what it's about. Thank you all so much for speaking out. We really appreciate it. I love the involvement.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to see the site plan one more time?
Let me have Ashley. Are you still on? Because Ashley's got the updated one.
I'm here.
Can you, Sarah, I think you've got it back now, right? Control. I don't want to
Yes,
share.
I
my
just
whole-
transferred to her.
Yeah, Ashley, you've got it. If you could put up the site plan again.
I don't know why it's doing that, but can you see it?
There you go. Yes, ma'am. So I-10 is on the bottom. There you
Right.
go. That's I-10, and then Regent Boulevard is right there. Are you
Okay,
just
thank you.
okay? So we'll get out the updated site plan. It sounds like we need landscape information, maybe more specific lighting information to fencing. Those were all the things that I got. Environmental. We'll talk about environmental also. And ways they can address concerns. And then we'll talk about, we'll also send out meeting dates and that information too, to make sure everybody's got it. Okay. Thank you again, Ashley, Delaney, everybody, appreciate it. If anybody is on for the next agenda item, which is multifamily off of River Road, you're welcome to stay on. Or please do stay on because we'd like to hear from you as well. And I see, is it Will Kroll is representing, who is representing the?
Hi, Laura, it'll be me, Jeremy.
Jeremy? Okay, great. So I'll give a little overview, Jeremy, and then we'll get started asking the same scenario. We'll allow the developer to speak and kind of express their what their plans are for the site. Let me get rid of some of these things. And I'll do my best. So you're gonna have to shift it to me. I want to get this down one of these days.
Sorry, just a second, I'm transferring.
That's all right. Bear with us for just a moment.
Now you have it.
Thank you, ma'am. See if I can do it. Let me pull it over. Got it. Here we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So this is what the city calls this multifamily because these are multiple units on a lot. But you'll see as Jeremy goes through their plan for the site, it's a little different. We really consider the new term is horizontal apartments, and really it's not these multi-story apartments. These look more like townhomes or duplexes with a lot more green space provided. But we've got River Road over here, and Ranches at Creekside is back in this area, and this is a commercial proposed future commercial development at some point. It's already zoned for commercial. That's not part of their project. Their project is across the creek right here. They will, as part of our regulations, provide open space. Actually, they'll dedicate this area along the creek as parkland dedication. So Jeremy, I've got this presentation. Do you want me to keep this up and just go through it with you, or do you want to, or did you want to go through it?
Or I can pull it up on my side if it's easier, and I can toggle through it.
I'll let you do that.
That works.
Talk at your pace.
Mm. Can you
Do I
transfer?
have
Or do you
to
want
get-
me? I'll do it.
I think I got it finally, Sarah. No, I can't come it. You're faster than me.
Okay, Jeremy, you're supposed to have it.
Okay, I got it.
There we go. Thank you.
Can y'all see that?
Yes, sir. So Jeremy, can you tell folks who you are?
Absolutely. Jeremy Williams with Embry Partners. We are a family-owned company and been in business for 47 years. Walter Embry started the company. We're based here in San Antonio. And we are and have been a multifamily developer for that time. We've got 12 different markets around the country. We're housed in San Antonio, and the development partners are home based here, and we live here, but we travel out to other markets as well. So keep hitting the wrong button. So we're still stewarded by Walter and Trey and our executive team. We've got, again, multiple developers that travel around the country and hit our markets. But what's nice about Embry is that we control the whole process from entitlement, development to construction to then the professional management of that community. And so we feel like that we can control the process much better than a lot of others do that. So this is a newer concept for Embry that's blossomed over the last year and a half. I took this really as a personal challenge to come up with. I'm an architect. That's my experience and my background, and moved over into development about 15 years ago. And so really kind of fell in love with this concept of providing homes for people, but they're for rent, and doing it in such a way that it was very curated and thought out. And so these were the guiding principles that we used to start this platform for us, with a focus on architectural character. The Embrys have always been very focused on the exterior skin and the livability and ultimately who's going to live there. So we keep that in focus all the time, but we also wanted a lower density lifestyle to maximize the green space. I think that works well in these markets that are to preserve the natural feel of the surrounding. So it does have a neighborhood feel. I'll get into some of the details, but this is a very low multifamily type of use at about 12 units to the acre. Most apartments run anywhere from 20 to 50 units to the acre. And so providing the privacy and the outdoor living space and multiple living options for people is one of our keys. This is the site plan that Laura presented earlier. This has some of the more details on it. About 8 units to the acre is this tract, 1,000 square foot average. We have 2 parking spaces per unit. It's important to park these like a home, really. And we've done our research around the country, and we've seen that the fatal flaw for these types of communities is that they're just woefully underparked, and people are not happy with that. And so that's the appropriate way to park these, is right at 2 to the unit. And of course, we'll work with all within city codes and guidelines to make sure that that complies. But they all get private yards. We have our own amenity center with fitness center and pool and a dog park and trails kind of throughout this. So that's some of the benefit to doing these lower densities, is you have a lot more green space to work with. This is a little bit of showing what the future thoroughfare plan are. We're currently working with the city to kind of talk through this. All we know is that the idea is that the city would like to have a road to come through the property running east-west. And so we want to preserve that for the city. And this is just an exhibit showing that I don't even know if you've seen this yet, Laura. So surprise. but it's you know, we control kind of what's on our tract, and these are just ideas for the city to consider of how you end up connecting ultimately to the east. So this is the community. These are duplexes, so paired homes and back to front. So the front doors face the street. The other front doors face a green belt, and I'll show you what that looks like. But people that face the street, they'll have attached garages. There's options where you don't have an attached garage, maybe you have a master bedroom on the ground floor, so you don't have to walk upstairs to go to your master. Driveways, we have 3-bedroom units with 2-car garages. And so there's a lot of flexibility for people in, you know, what your needs are. People are renters by choice these days. They love the idea of that. And especially with this, the astronomical rate in which home prices continue to escalate, this is a nice way for people to get the living experience of a home without, you know, paying $500,000 plus for a home. So again, another street view. This is what a cluster, a neighborhood kind of block would feel like, with that green belt in the middle. And again, 1 and 2 stories. So you get a varied style of architecture. This is showing a modern farmhouse type of exterior, but there's multiple exteriors that we can use when we go through to make sure that the architecture suits the environment and the location that it's within.
Well, on the other side of those structures is another structure. So that's where you get the duplex, where the front or one side faces the street, the other side faces the duplex, the open space, right?
That's exactly right. So in this photo, you can see this is for instance one that faces the street, and this is the other side of, say, that exact unit that faces the street. Here's the front door for the resident that lives here. And so, you know, in the midst of this pandemic that's been going on, as I'm brainstorming this through, and I was like, wow, this is a great way for people that you don't have to pass 30 to 40 to 50 units to get to your unit. You know, you kind of have just easy in and out to get to your front door. And it's outdoor open space, not a corridor. So this is a little blow up of what the unit plans would look like. An example. So on the left is the unit that faces the street. The right, it faces the green belt or the perimeter. And they all have private yards that go with them. This has a garage, and then you take the stairs up and your living space is upstairs. And this one, the same thing. I don't have a plan currently on the screen that shows what the master bedroom down looks like, but this gives you an idea of how these paired homes begin to live, and they share a common wall, but we don't have the bedrooms against this wall. A lot of the times we have the staircase, and it's just very quiet. You don't hear your neighbor. There's no one above you. And on 3 sides, there's no one beside you. So the backyards, these are inspirational photos of what really caught us onto the idea of, man, let people make their space their own space and utilize that yard. About 65% of our residents have pets. And so this is a huge draw for them to come. So the modern farmhouse theme, like I said, was the initial inspiration. These were some of the images that we used to craft the exteriors. Love the clean lines, the simple exteriors, but they were front porches. You know, you think about that, and that's just something that's an afterthought sometimes, but we made them deep enough to really be usable. And Class A, these are luxury apartments, and will compete with anything else in the marketplace. So they'll live like a home. And you know, we're very excited about being able to bring this product type to the city of Boerne. And Laura mentioned this was an opportunity for us to share with the community, and so we welcome that. And thank you. And I'll be quiet and listen to any comments.
I do have a couple of questions real quick before we get started with everybody. Rental rates, any idea what the ranges would be?
So it's a good question. You know, we're targeting somewhere in the anywhere from 1,600 to maybe 2,200 for the larger units. But the market will kind of dictate ultimately where that lands. But that's what we see that would be for the city.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get an idea. Also, so everybody understands, this property right now is not in the city limits. So it still needs this is a very early bond meeting because they wanted to hear y'all's comments up front. They still need to annex into the city, get the zoning. So those are public hearings as well. So you will see more of this, but they wanted to get your information. It's not scheduled for any P&Z meeting right now. They wanted to get your information up front. We're still working with them. Where it says future right of way there's River Road, then future right of way. This is a line that's on our thoroughfare map right now that goes from Woods of Bernie, try to remember my subdivision name. There's a street that actually goes from Woods of Bernie that is proposed to go through that commercial section of Champion Heights that will cross over the creek and then across this property. So the lines on the map that he was showing, that road is actually a requirement of the city to be, whoever develops this property will need to bring that road through. And that's to provide some, a backage street really off of Highway 46. So folks in Champion Heights or Woods Bernie don't have to get out on 46, hit the light, come across. They can cut through on this backage street for whatever uses come down the line for these other properties. So whether it's this development or another, the city would ask for this road, this backage road. And it's just to keep traffic. It's more for the convenience of the folks on the north side of River Road, so they don't have to get out on 46 to access other things. So we asked for this. The buffer that's along the creek there is another thing that is required of our ordinance. So there will be a buffer there. They can't encroach into that. There's no development that will be able to encroach into that. So really, they're just looking for your feedback early on so they can address any concerns, any questions that you might have before they move forward with annexation and zoning, which will probably be about a 3-month process once they start down that road. So does anybody have any questions of Jeremy?
Laura, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah, and I just see a phone number, but if you'll just tell me your first name, at least that would be great.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. This is Debbie Rittiman, Crisco.
Oh, hey.
Got a real.
So Debbie, did you call in or are you just on your computer?
Kill this.
Hold on just a second.
That's fine.
Can you hear us now, Laura?
Much better. I'm going to mute myself just in case I'm the problem. Thank you.
And Suzanne Rittiman is here as well.
I recognize Suzanne.
Hi, Laura. We just have some questions.
Go.
So does the developer own this complex and manage it accordingly like an apartment complex?
Suzanne, yes, we do. This is going to be professionally managed. It's going to be kept up by the management company. So we mow, we put out the seasonal color, we keep the streets clean, we make sure that there's not things on the front porches, and we make sure that it looks first class.
Okay, Jeremy.
That's all on us.
Second question for you. Where are your proposed utilities coming from?
Well, hopefully from the city, if we get annexation. There are utilities currently in River Road, and there's also some utilities on Champion Boulevard that are to be stubbed out to the east. So
okay, I might be wrong, Laura. Correct me if I'm misunderstanding this, but I thought Browns Creek separates where the city of Bernie and Pedernales is their dividing line of where you can provide utilities.
Well,
I mean, I'm talking electrical.
Yeah,
right.
I'd have to look at the map real quick, but electric would be the only thing that we may not provide, but I actually think it's a little further out. I'll look while y'all are talking
Okay.
to verify
Well,
that.
The next two questions, Laura, we'd like to ask you.
Mhm.
The proposed street that I'm looking at, we're just curious. It goes right through a storage facility.
The storage units?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because there's not much we can do about that. And we're still trying to figure it out. Right now, it looks like that road may have to stop prior to the storage units unless we can take it further to the north. But you can see that's why he's got a spaghetti string of streets, because we're not sure yet what we're going to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the way the thing is built, the only way to bring it would be through that open space where the yellow is represented.
There or far at the north end of the storage units, but then still that would require cooperation by the owners there, and we haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
So
Okay, and the other thing is, I know that in talking with you through the law firm recently, y'all requested or had talked about a buffer from the highway on our property, but there's no buffer on the highway there.
So they are in the entrance corridor, just as other properties over there are.
Okay.
So there would be a buffer. This is just a rendition for them to speak from.
Okay.
All of those requirements that you and I had talked about before would still apply to them as well. It's just very early on in their process.
I just know before all this is over, we just like an answer on the utility situation.
I can tell you in just a minute.
We're under the impression it's Browns Creek, but
for the electricity.
Yes, for electricity
I have a map.
only. Yeah.
I'll look real quick.
Okay. And that's all.
Okay, anybody else have any questions while I'm looking for our utility map? Real quick, I'm trying to work on my screen. Any comments? Anybody else wanna? Okay, then I just need to get to my.
Our early due diligence, it looks like it's maybe Pedernales would be the electric provider, but
yes, I will tell you, Jeremy, that that's what has been told to us by Pedernales. What exists there now is just a single residential line that connects into my mother-in-law's home that sits back where they have it squared off here.
So yes, based on the utility department information, that's Pedernales' area.
And that would be our question. And that would be our question for Jeremy. How do you intend to get phase 3 power across by Pedernales?
yeah, we don't need 3-phase. We can do single phase with this type of community.
Okay.
Certainly it's something that we're going to have to approach and work through and come up with a solution of how this gets served. Yeah.
Well, without the use of many poles, which would then impede, I guess, on not only the visual, but the future development of our property. That is of a great concern of us, because there's only a single residential easement right now. And even for you to do this many complexes, it has to come looking at the property from the right side.
Jeremy, in case you haven't deduced already, the Rittemans have
Are your
neighboring
neighbors.
Property. I wasn't going to call you out, but since she's kind of laid it out.
No, I mean, I'll tell you, we're your neighbors.
Let's negotiate this power thing together.
Well, no, that's what the family is curious as to what your thoughts are, that maybe you had some thoughts toward it that we're not understanding here. But you don't have to call me out. I volunteer it. You know me, Laura.
Okay. As long as it's you. As long as it's you and not me. We're all right.
It's me, so anyway. Okay, that was our only concern, because it's 300 and something units, and power is going to have to come from somewhere. We
I have a
hoped-
feeling their engineers are going to be looking at that tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you very much, Miss Laura.
You bet.
Thanks, Debbie.
It's good to see you, Suzanne.
Good to see you.
Thank you, ladies, for joining.
Thank you.
Did you have any other questions? Any other comments?
I don't think so.
Not at this
Not
point.
right now, no ma'am.
Okay. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I think you got some good feedback. You now know you're in PEC territory, and then we've got to talk about the buffer and all that stuff. I know you had some parkland dedication questions, so we'll get all those answers to you as well. But really, they've been a good group to work with. They've been doing a lot of due diligence up front, which we don't see often. So it's nice to have somebody be thorough. So thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Laura. You bet. And again, I kind of listened through the first part and understand that communication. I'm happy to share. Well, Laura, you have my email as well, so feel free to put me in touch with any concerned neighbors or with the Rittemans, and we're happy to continue to talk. So
okay,
look forward
good
to
deal.
it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, Laura.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, Suzanne.
Bye. We're pretty easy to find.